Greetings, everybody. I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to part 5 of my 2017 Halloween Marathon on Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now, if you may recall, about a year ago, I looked at an awesome but gory rock opera movie called Repo the Genetic Opera. And as I said during that blog, it's one of the few musicals that my friends at Musical Theater Village will never perform due to its theme and plot. And tonight, I'd like to discuss about another musical thriller, this one being Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Created as a play in 1973 by Christopher Bond, and as a musical in 1979 by Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler, the story centers around an English barber who got exiled by a corrupt judge, and after he returns to London, he becomes a serial killer who murders his customers with a straight razor, and, with the help of his accomplice, Mrs. Lovett, processes their corpses into meat pies. Now, to be honest, I've never really seen the show on stage yet, but all I can describe is it's pretty dark, and it's very serious and disturbing. Also, there have been many film adaptations of this thrilling story. Heck, even some have made it before the story went to stage. For example, there was a silent film adaptation from 1928, a 1936 version directed by George King, and a television movie version in 1998. However, the version I'm going to blog tonight is a movie that was brought to us by my all-time favorite director, Tim Burton. So, let's get started. Released on December 21st, 2007, the movie is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Alright, let's get started. Evil Judge Turpin lusts for the beautiful wife of a London barber named Benjamin Barker and transports him to Australia for a crime he did not commit. 15 years later, Benjamin returns to London, calling himself Sweeney Todd, and now he vows revenge, applying his razor to unlucky customers and shuttling their bodies down to Mrs. Lovett's, who used them in her meat pie shop. Though many fall to his blade, he will not be satisfied until he slits Turpin's throat. So, what are my thoughts on this movie? Well, when I first rented this movie from Netflix back in 2008, I felt that the movie was really intense and disturbing with all the blood effects. But now that I'm older, I start to understand the story's message, and I realize that the movie is really insane, but still very thrilling. But before I get ahead of myself, let's move on to Mustang notes. Having been struck by the cinematic qualities of Sondheim's musical while still a student, Burton had entertained the notion of a film version since the early 1980s. However, it was not until 2006 that he had the opportunity to realize this ambition, when DreamWorks announced his appointment as replacement for director Sam Mendes, who had been working on such an adaptation. Stephen Sondheim, although not directly involved, was extensively consulted during production. Filming began on February 5, 2007 at Pinewood Studios and was completed by May 11th, despite a brief interruption when Johnny Depp's daughter was taken seriously ill. Burton opted to film the movie in London, where he had felt very much at home since his work on Batman in 1989. production designer Dante Ferretti created a darker, more sinister London by adapting Fleet Street and its surrounding area. Burton initially planned to use minimal sets and film in front of a green screen, but decided against it, stating that physical sets helped actors get into a musical frame of mind. Just having people singing in front of a green screen seemed more disconnected. Oh, bonus fact. The movie won a number of awards, including the Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture Musical or Comedy, and the Academy Award for Best Art Direction. Now, since this movie takes place in London, some parts of it make me want to look back at my memories of when I last visited this historical city back in summer 2010. Also, since this is a Tim Burton movie, which is awesome, the scenery and environments in this movie are very overcast and dark. Also, like I said earlier, I'd never really seen the original stage musical yet, but it makes me wonder how the blood effects were done in this movie whenever Sweeney Todd kills somebody. Also, in my opinion, the opening credits scene is very spine-chilling, especially with the orchestra of the Ballad of Sweeney Todd playing. Now, as mentioned earlier, the songs were written and composed by Stephen Sondheim, and as I said 2 years ago while blogging Into the Woods with my sister, Sondheim's style of songwriting isn't really my favorite because sometimes the songs can be serious and hard to understand at times. But with Sweeney Todd, it's pretty much like that, but still pretty simple and scary at times. To me, the opening song, No Place Like London, is pretty good when introducing audiences to London. Barber and His Wife and Poor Thing are interesting songs because they explain what happened to Sweeney and his wife before the story began. The Worst Pies in London is an okay song too, but it can be a tad tongue-twisted at times. There are also a few songs that are very beautiful, like Greenfinch and Linnet Bird, By the Sea, and Joanna. And there are songs that are very disturbing, like Pretty Women and My Friends. But, out of all the songs in the entire movie, Epiphany is the most twisted and powerful song ever. Plus, it feels like the kind of song that would be played before an intermission. Anyway, now that I got Mustang notes and songs out of the way, let's move on to the cast. Our title character, Sweeney Todd, aka Benjamin Barker, is played by Johnny Depp, best known from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Sleepy Hollow, Corpse Bride, Dark Shadows, Into the Woods, and of course, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. In my opinion, while Todd was the inspiration for Freaky Fred from Courage the Cowardly Dog, he's a tad similar to a character that I played in Little Shop of Horror several months ago. But on the other hand, Sweeney is another villain who I feel sorry for because he had a very upsetting backstory, being accused of a crime he didn't commit and being taken away from his wife and daughter. Plus, in my opinion, Johnny Depp's portrayal as Sweeney is very well done, and his singing is very twisted. Sweeney Todd's accomplice, Mrs. Nellie Lovett, is played by Helena Bonham Carter, best known as Bellatrix Lestrange from the Harry Potter franchise, Lady Toddington from Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Mrs. Bucket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Red Queen from the Alice films, and of course, Fairy Godmother from Cinderella from 2015. Lovett runs a pie shop underneath Sweeney Todd's barber shop. While she is secretly in love with Todd, Lovett informs him that his wife, Lucy, was raped by Judge Turpin and was so distraught that she poisoned herself with arsenic. Later on, while Todd is killing his customers, Lovett uses their flesh to bake meat pies, which makes her business very successful. Next we come to the corrupt Judge Turpin, played by the late Alan Rickman, best known for playing Professor Snape from the Harry Potter film series. To me, Turpin is not a good judge at all. Not only does he exile Benjamin Barker to Australia before he became Sweeney Todd, but Turpin also rapes his wife Lucy and takes Barker's infant daughter Joanna and raises her as his ward. Also, what's worse is that Turpin spies on Joanna through a peephole in her door like a stalker, and later tries to ask for Joanna's hand in marriage. Turpin's henchman, Beetle Bamford, is played by Timothy Spall, best known as Wormtail from the Harry Potter film series, Mr. Poe from a series of unfortunate events, and Nathaniel from Disney's Enchanted. This character does everything he is told to do by the judge, like ordering the police to arrest Benjamin Barker, and escorts Lucy Barker to the judge's ball. The Beetle is relied on by everybody to inspect the health regulations of the city and do other things that are required by the town inhabitants. Also, the Beetle does beat up Anthony to teach him a lesson after he is caught gandering at Joanna. But the one thing that I like that the Beetle does is judge a shaving competition between Sweeney Todd and Adolfo Pirelli. Next we have Sweeney's friend, Anthony Hope, played by Jamie Campbell Bower, best known for being in 3 of the Twilight sequels, and for being in Thomas and Friends. Anthony is my favorite character in the movie due to the fact that he helped Sweeney escape from Australia. Later on, after Anthony first sees Joanna in her window, he falls in love with her at first sight and vows to rescue her from Judge Turpin. Next we have Anthony's love interest and Sweeney Todd's daughter, Joanna, played by Jane Weisner, who, after this movie, got to be in Boogeyman 3. Not much to say about her, but mostly throughout this movie, Joanna is locked in her room by Judge Turpin, who plans to make her his wife. When Joanna tries to escape, Turpin sends her to an insane asylum, but luckily, Anthony comes to her rescue disguised as a wig-maker's apprentice. We also have Adolfo Pirelli, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, whom I know from the Madagascar trilogy, Les Miserables, and Borat. Anyway, this guy is first introduced as an Italian barber who is very theatrical and dresses in extravagant clothing. Pirelli often abuses his young apprentice Tobias Ragg by slapping him across the face for no reason. Pirelli claims to have shaved the King of Naples and the Pope, arrogantly referred to himself as the King of the Barbers and the Barber of Kings. However, His real name turns out to be Daniel O'Higgins, and he was Sweeney Todd's apprentice as a boy. Pirelli knows Todd's true identity as Benjamin Barker and threatens to expose him unless Todd pays him half of his profits. So, in order to keep his identity a secret, Todd kills Pirelli. Other characters in the movie include Laura Michelle Kelly as Sweeney Todd's wife, Lucy, aka the Beggar Woman, and Ed Sanders as Tobias Ragg. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, has got to be one of the greatest musical movies and one of the best thrillers ever. The story is dark, the characters are pretty twisted, the songs are serious, beautiful, and disturbing, and finally, the setting in London is very cool, but still creepy at the same time. Also, hopefully someday, I'll get my chance to see Sweeney Todd on stage and see what it's like. Plus, if you folks are fans of musicals like this, then you should definitely check it out. But I wouldn't really recommend anyone under the age of 17 to watch this due to its R rating. So, for my final rating, oh what the heck, I'll give it a full 100%. Well, that's it for today, everybody. Be sure to join me again next time, where I reacquaint myself with a Disney villain who became my arch nemesis back in 2013. Mustang Power.